1, 2, 3. How about that? Is that working? Right. I think the sound's on the wrong one. Literally, I just restarted the computer. That's why I was late. Because that wasn't working. I got it working. And now we couldn't hear it. All right, what's going on? So, Anthony Martial has been talking. He has done an interview with... the sound will sound a little bit odd. It's just the laptop one now rather than an actual microphone one because we're live, so we'll just make it work. All right? So Anthony Martial has gone and done an interview with France Football. I'm assuming it was today. It doesn't actually sound when it was. Hit the like button and hit subscribe if you're new. And he's come out swinging. So let's go through what has actually been said then. So... says he had a great relationship with Louis van Gaal in the first season, liked to learn, and when he takes the time to make him watch the videos, explain things to it, it's the best. So, sounds like he really liked his relationship with Louis van Gaal. Talking about Jose Mourinho, and it seems like it all went west for him. I mean, I'd like to know what you guys think about this lot, because he's saying... Someone says this is pre-recorded. I mean, yeah, I would leave in mistakes with the audio for for a pre-record, wouldn't I? Get out, lads. So he says it went west with Jose Mourinho over the shirt number, and he didn't want to take the 11, for whatever reason, and he was upset with that. And that seemingly was like. He felt disrespected and seen his ass with that in a big way. He said he was talking about me in the press. He likes these games, but also knows what he's doing with them. He knows I'm a 20-year-old, and if I say something, it will be the young person who lacks respect. I think he's talking about when Jose Mourinho come out and said that he didn't work hard. And I'll be honest, that's a trait that you've seen from Martial throughout his entire period at United. So... I don't know. Anyway, let's carry on. He says in his second season at United, I was the team's top scorer in the first part of the season. Mourinho brought in Alexis Sanchez and I hardly played anymore. It cost me dearly. I should have been there at the 2018 World Cup. Now, that didn't necessarily ring true to me. I can't remember if he was the top scorer at the time. He finished with, I think, 11 goals, maybe 13 goals, I think. I think it was 11. In all competitions, that is. He actually played 13 games after the arrival of Alexis Sanchez that season and didn't score a single goal. So, including the FA Cup final. I'm not necessarily sure his version of those events is entirely accurate, to be honest. Up until that moment, he'd played 33 games and scored 11 goals. So a goal every third game. It's not an amazing return. It's not awful. I think he had quite a lot of assists that season as well, but it's not an awful return. But then 13 games without a goal, maybe that had more to do with why you didn't go to the World Cup than the fact that Alexis Sanchez had signed for Manchester United. Anyway, so he continues. He said, the last 2 seasons, I have regularly played injured. People don't know that. I couldn't accelerate during the 4 months following the COVID season. Solskjaer tells me that he needs me, so I play. Now, the same sort of treatment that Marcus got. I don't think you should play injured. I think players need to really look after themselves and not play injured. It shortens careers. You don't get the best product out of a player. Look, if it's a cup final, jab me up, let's go. If this is Tuesday night, EFL Cup, whatever, what are we doing? Now, Solskjaer was a little bit limited in terms of his options because there was none. He had no available strikers. Marcus played injured, which was a bad decision. If Tony Martial was playing injured as well, it's quite easy to see what the issue is here. Now, he hasn't actually started a ton of games, really. So if he was coming off the bench injured, I guess that's one thing. But also, the first full season under Ollie, Marcus and Tony both had incredible goal returns. Like the 2 peak seasons Anthony Martial has had. I'm just going to get his thingy up here just to see. The 2 peak seasons that Anthony Martial had was his first season, obviously under Louis van Gaal, where he finished with 17 goals. And then the 19-20 season under Ollie, where he finished with 23 goals, 17 goals in the league. That is a good return. The following season, 4 goals in 22, 7 in 36 overall. Last season, 1 in 11, including 1 in 12 when he went to Sevilla. There needs to be a bit more ownership. And he does say, I was inconsistent, but it's hard to get consistent when you're not played consistently. Unfortunately, mate, it doesn't work like that. You have to go in and take your chance. You have to go in and take the opportunity to play and then be undeniable. No one just gets gifted the opportunity and a run of games just to see what happens. It doesn't really work like that. And if people can cast their minds back to Martial and Rashford under Jose, the rules was one of them starts, the other comes off the bench and scores. That happened for seemingly a long time in that season. Then he goes on and says, on his body language, he says, basically, I have to display my disappointment after a missed opportunity, so people say, oh, he doesn't really care. I don't necessarily believe that that's the criticism. He says, I'm a footballer, not an actor. His resting, not asked face, I don't think is a massive problem. The body language thing is, there was that clip, I think it was from last season, where you see him just sort of stand completely still like a statue while football's happening around him, and people have to run past him to go and deal with stuff. I think that's more about what people are talking about, your body language and attitude, rather than your face when you miss an opportunity. He says, I'm not immune to criticism. When people say I lack consistency, it's true. When I had my place, all goes well, but when I've been used less, it's true that my performance has not been the same. Again, I'll point to that. 36 games, 7 goals. In total last season, 33 games, 2 goals. That's not, that's not the sort of form that's going to warrant you a start, mate. There has to be something of your own that comes into this a little bit. He goes on and says, it's a vicious circle. I'm less effective because I played less, therefore I play even less. When it's like that, I can sometimes drop out a little bit. A player like Cavani, he's at 3,000 even when given few minutes. He says, we've spoken about being genuine, so I can speak about Wayne Rooney. He's the best player I've played with, always plays for the team, always at 100%, no fuss, a monster and a model as a footballer. He also goes on and talks about Cristiano Ronaldo, and he says he's been super humble and what a hard worker. We often speak when we're in the gym in the morning before going out to training, and I watch what he's doing, and that's logic. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. I just wish with this interview he'd gone, and I need to be more like what he said about Rooney, or what he said about Ronaldo, or what he even said there about Cavani, and try and push himself to that next level. Hasn't been good enough. Someone in the comments says, say Rashi stats as well. This isn't about Rashford. And how many times has Rashford been criticised for his performances last year? And correctly so. Like I said, anyone who plays with a broken back for United, for me, gets a pass like that. Marshall's going to get the same sort of pass, but like there has to be some sort of effort shown. Ray there says actions speak louder than words. I would agree with that one. Matt says, all I see is another player trying to shift the blame on themselves. Yeah, it's a strange interview to do. I'm not sure if he just had to do an interview, but I'm not sure what the message is that he's trying to get out of this. Amin says, the kid is a massive talent, but he needs to be managed properly. He rarely speaks, and doing that now sure to be a positive. I'm not sure that it is, in all honesty. Ed says the last few months we've literally learned of every player leak. With Tony, he started off pre-season great, gave everyone a lot of hope, changed a lot of people's minds, in all honesty. Changed my mind in pre-season, was looking forward to seeing what he could do. And then, yeah, he's got injured. Now, you can't blame people for getting injured, but I wish he would maybe acknowledge that and just say something along the lines of, yeah, I've started brightly under Ten Hag. From what I've seen of the interview, he's not mentioned anything about that yet. I wish he would come out and say, yeah, this has happened with Ten Hag. I'm disappointed not to feature at the start of the season, and I'm working my hardest to get fit. Just that's the sort of attitude. Look, if you don't talk to the press, you don't talk to the press. But if you're going to talk to the press, let's hear that from you. I'm not saying you have to talk to the press, but if you do, there's some things that we would like to hear from it. Notch says, no one moaned about not playing years ago when they all earned nothing in comparison to now. This is nothing but entitlement attitude. Kinya says, Marshall also said he agrees he's not being consistent. I don't get how that's shifting the blame. He then says, I've not been consistent because I've not been getting games. I think there's a way of handling that is you say, yeah, I've not been consistent and I've maybe not deserved the games. I've got to be better in the opportunities that I do get. I don't know how you're not seeing that. Mujahid says, Ten Hag really likes Marshall, which is good signs if you think about it. It is if you can get him and keep him fit. Because if you can't keep him fit, then there's literally no point having him. Adaria says, players are allowed to have an opinion that you don't agree with. Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are, but you would like I said, if you're going to come and talk to the press, there's some things that we would like you to say. Don't just whinge and moan about everything. Sung says, Ollie played Rashford until his back broke. Crazy management. Matt says, what's his excuse for Sevilla? Is he just going to ignore that massive failure? Doesn't mention anything about that. Human being says, love Tony, but he's got to be consistent. Hopefully he gets over the injuries. Might not hit his potential, but he can be very useful for us. I'd agree with that. Steve says, is he ever fit? This has come out when he's just got his chance to start and he's injured again. Yeah, I would question the timing of that one in a big way, to be honest. Howard says, Manchester United is basically badly run. Football-wise, we're badly administered. We're bad. I don't think there's many disagreeing with that one. Ed says, this interview is a nice distraction. Spent all day watching Bundesliga and La Liga. It ain't the same. Bring the Premier League back. It's been a bit strange, hasn't it, seeing the amount of sport that has gone on, yet the Premier League has not. AI87 says, Marshall deserves the right to defend himself. He's a very misunderstood and quiet guy. He's been very unlucky, but players recover. Remember Van Nistelrooy and Beckham. I mean, Van Nistelrooy had one major injury, came back and hit the ground running. This guy's been here now 7 seasons, which might even be longer than we had. I think it was longer than we had Ruud Van Nistelrooy. Emmanuel says, I hope he gets his form again. Kid is a talent. Our problem with his club is mediocrity. Why choose Ollie as a coach? He's inept to handle the task. He messed this up bigly. Why are we rewriting history? Ollie was given the opportunity to be an interim because they didn't know who to appoint. Then he won 13 out of 16 games and everyone went, Jesus Christ, give him the job. So they did. You could defend the decision at the time. He then went on and broke quite a few records, which are records, and ultimately it unravelled for him. But it unravelled for Ralph Rangnick as well, and the same players have almost unravelled it at times for Ten Hag. I don't know why Ollie's still getting a lot of blame for this sort of stuff. Megaloman says, why do these dramas come up? Don't know. Nastic says, so does Ollie leave us in a better place after running that 11 into the ground, or am I going to keep defending him? It's neither. I'll defend him against nonsense, absolutely, but he has to take the blame for some of the things that he got wrong. He put in some very great tactical performances when it was... I found a few things with Ollie hilarious. One, that he was called the PE teacher when literally the 2 previous managers before him were literal PE teachers. They both were PE teachers, actual PE teachers. Please go and Google that. Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho. And he was told that he played on pure vibes, but he's the person with the best record at the Etihad against Pep. You're not doing that on vibes. Yes, it's counter-attacking football, but so what? Still wins. And And I think Ollie got a lot of things wrong. I think the constant use of that 11 was probably one of those. But Ten Hag's kind of doing the same thing. If you've only got 11 players that you trust, what are you expected to do? We've seen the drop-off when it comes off that starting 11. And yeah, he was the one that signed Wan-Bissaka and Maguire. I think he signed them for a different purpose than what we ended up trying to see. Speaking Facts says, Steve, please ask yourself what Shaw has done for this club before asking about Martial. I've asked that quite a few times. M. Shah says, the way Steve sticks up for Ole is admirable but hilarious. Why is it? You'll not see me bag on any managers. It's a difficult job. There's 11 players and only one manager. Who do you think has the most impact? It's the 11 players. Diogo says, he might not have been completely impartial in his interview, but it's pretty obvious that the managerial capabilities of those last two coaches and their man management is pretty questionable. If that's what you think. Anthony Jarvis says, speaking facts, you've never watched Steve before. I think he's talking about the Luke Shaw thing. Martin says, Steve, if we don't get rid of some of these players, we're going to have to throw the manager under the bus when the going gets hard. The problem with getting rid of players when you're a United manager is the sheer cost of those players. Craig says, tuning in late, can I give us a too long didn't read? Yeah, in a nutshell, Anthony Martial has done an interview. He talks about Ollie playing him through injuries. I would like someone... I want to know if the person that was asking those questions was just writing those down, or did he ask follow-up questions? What was the injury that you were playing with? He says you can't accelerate. Okay, what was the injury? Did you inform the manager of this, and what did he say? Did he say, I've got no one else, I need you? Or did he say, shut up, you little bitch, you're playing? What did he say? That would be, if someone says to me, oh yeah, I was playing injured. Okay, well, did you keep it to yourself? And if he says yes, you go, well, you're the idiot at the end of the day. I know players want to play all the time. I got 25 of them that I look after. They'll all tell me they're fit. All of them. I'll watch one of them in training have to go sit out for 5 minutes because his groin's hurting. And I'll go, is that groin all right? And they'll be like, yeah, I just didn't want to risk it. Players will lie to you because they want to play. So, did Ollie know the full extent of your injuries? Did you tell them those? If yes, then yeah, Ollie fucked up it. Potentially. If he had nobody else, then he had nobody else. But, like, ultimately, that's one of those. So he blames Ollie for his playing him through injuries. He says he fell out with Mourinho because of the changing of the shirt number, which seems a little bit minor, really, in the grand scheme of things. Seems like he had a good relationship with Louis van Gaal. And that's pretty much it, really. Dwayne says, the one who has the blood in their hands, he's gone. That would be Woodward, as he led the organisation as a CEO, but the fan base fails to put pressure on the one who has the most power. Knight says, he says all he knew, but he didn't inform the media and needed to play him. And so there needs to be a follow-up question there, doesn't there? Okay, to what extent did he know? And to what extent did he say he needed you? Yeah, and you know he's run other players into the ground as well. Arguably, Bruno fell off a cliff because of how hard he was running to the ground. Same with Martial. Same with Rashford as well. JPF says, I don't get the hatred towards Ollie from our fan base. Certainly got things wrong, but got things right. At the end of the day, the geezer got the only second and third finishes we've had consecutively since Sir Alex. I'm not understanding where all the drama came from. He also gave us probably our best night outside of winning a trophy with the PSG thing. Gibberish says, Ollie cost us more silverware than he won. He left us with the deadwood that he claimed to have got rid of. Well, he did get rid of deadwood, unfortunately. And you're going to see, Jesus, Ten Hag's come in, Phil Jones is still here. Like, some deadwood's very, very difficult to get rid of. Can you tell me which silverware Ollie's decision lost us, please? Which silverware should United have won that Ollie's decision cost us? He didn't miss a penalty or not save any penalties in the Europa final. The only one I think you could say that he cost us was the semi-final against Chelsea, where it looked like we rotated a little bit. And I think he maybe gambled on some of the other competitions instead of that. Rory says Ollie gave Jones a new contract. Did he? Did he really? Or was that Woodward? Because Manchester United's policy over the last 5 years has been to just extend every single player's contract no matter what. O'Rain says, it seems like there's still some level of toxicity that remains in the dressing room from previous managers. Emmanuel says Europa League final. What did Ollie do in the Europa League final that you believe cost us the game? Akil says Ollie signed Maguire. Yeah, he did. Right? And Maguire, in a counter-attacking side, is not a bad option. Same for Wan-Bissaka. But I think what happened is United got better than we expected them to be, quicker than we expected them to be that. And when you ask those players to start them being a team that starts to dominate the ball and start living on the halfway line, they were incapable of doing that. But when we played counter, they worked. Sam says the summer where Smalling and Jones were meant to go and end up with new contracts. Yeah, I don't know how much of that is the manager and how much of that is the board. Notch says Ollie's players scored all their 10 penalties in that final. Only the keeper missed, but it's Ollie's fault. Jack says the players are assets that the Glazers can loan money against. I don't think it was Ollie who wanted to keep Jones. Yeah, I'm sure of it. Look, you only got to look at Ollie's press conferences and how he was like, let's keep Sanchez. Get him out the door. Oh, yeah, let's keep Ashley Young. Get him out the fucking door. You know what I mean? Iron says Phil Jones has been unfairly treated. Has he? Conservative Magician says Mourinho wanted Maguire before Ollie too. The crazy one in all of this is supposedly Pep wanted Maguire. That's one to wrap your head around, isn't it? Entertainment says 3 years, nothing won, left us with the same broken dressing room he came to fix. Okay, yeah, factually, he won nothing. Realistically, we were very close to winning some stuff, and the improvement was obvious on the pitch. Look, we had more 5-0 plus victories under Ollie than like the previous 3 managers combined. Do you know what I mean? Chris says, would have loved Ollie to let loose on the Glazers in that final interview. He's never going to do it because of his status within the club. 20 Legend said Ollie's targets all played high energy, aggressive, attacking football. Arguably not Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. I think they would turn out to be mistakes in the grand scheme of things. But yeah. Nick says, Jones is stealing a living at this point. Would love to be him. Fian says, well, at the end of the season, we will see if Marshall can back up his words. I think his fitness needs to be, yeah. Aaron says, off topic, here we go. How good is it to see a left-back like Malacia instead of Shaw? We'll probably be doing a 5 things Malacia at some point in the next week, just because obviously there's no games for a couple of days. I've got a loan watch coming out tomorrow morning, if you want to go and check that one out. Matthew says, feel really solid for, really, I could be wrong to a certain degree. I feel Ollie did get the best out of Marshall when combined with Rashford and Greenwood was sublime. Yeah, there was some times that there was good football there, no doubt. Ollie played Pogba in a comeback game from 3 months against League 2 opponents and aggravated injury for another 4 months. Right, so is that on the manager, or is that on the player, or is that on the physios, or is it a combination of all 3? It's probably a combination of all 3. Yeah, it did seem like some players came back too quickly. It did seem like some players were coming back from injury a little bit quick. But ultimately, as a manager, you have to take the advice of what's going on from the medical people. If the club doctor has cleared him, how can you say no? If the physio has cleared him, how can you say no? And like I said earlier, most of the players are going to come to you and say, I'm fit. So I'm not sure how much of it you can have on the manager for that. Someone in the comments here says, is he really defending Ollie? I can't. Yeah, from ridiculous accusations. Yeah, someone says, Ollie cost us trophies. Okay, which ones? So you show me which ones and I'll agree with it or not. Lisa Bradley says, what do I think of the Whoop band? Any good? This is my Whoop band. Yeah. I think the Whoop's the best fitness tracking thing that's ever existed. It's unreal. The amount of data that you get is probably a bit on the too much side, in all honesty, but yeah, it's fantastic. FA Cup. So someone says the FA Cup. Yeah, okay, fine. I can agree with that. But this is at a time when we're in a couple of semi-finals, and I think he's gambled, and he lost. Jose Mourinho gambled in the same way. He tanked the league to be able to go and win the Europa League, and he did. But let's say that Europa League final had gone to penalties because it was a close game, was it not? Let's say that Europa League final goes to penalties and it goes to the 11th, 12th penalty and we lose on penalties. That could easily have happened against Ajax. Could easily have happened. So all the credit going to a manager for that sort of performance, it could easily have been a thing. Chris says Marshall was given everything to succeed under Ollie, and it worked for a while. Give him number 9. He scored a lot. He complains about Mourinho taking his number. Says a lot about him. Childish. Ulf says this is why Marshall is running his mouth. Why is Marshall running his mouth when he's been out injured for over a month yet again? Saying a manager who has won every major trophy in club football was not respectful enough. Raf says, did I see the Athletic article a week ago? It said Ollie privately told people that signing Ronaldo was the final nail in the coffin for him. No, I didn't. I haven't seen that. I'll go check that out, though. IR says, hate how the last few months of Ollie's time tarnishes everything he did at the club from a lot of people. Same could be said about a lot of players and managers. Yep. Mr. Cakey's with a super chat there says, kind of weird that Marshall lost his number 9 to Zlatan while Jones got his keeper's number 4 when Varane came in. Interesting, yeah. I think it's sometimes some players really care about numbers, some players really don't. I think that's the bottom line in it. Hamzawi says the Europa League final with Jose, we were ahead of Ajax. It wasn't a close game. It was a close game. It was a hell of a close game. It could easily have gone the other way, especially if you don't manage to score your goals. You've got to remember, one of the goals is a deflection. You know, how much of a sliding doors moment is that goal doesn't go in, one of their chances does go in, and before you know it, you know, you're 1-1, 90 minutes is up, and you're going to penalties. All things gas says people forget that Ollie didn't have like a pre-season for 2 years. There's one thing. Raf there says, I hate the revisionism. Ollie did a good job until he got desperate and signed Ronaldo. Always a legend. I'm glad he managed us. Again, how much of... I don't even know if Ollie had the option of signing him. If you listen about how that whole thing went down, United were told about the availability of Anthony Martial, of Cristiano Ronaldo. Just reading my notes. They were told about the availability of Cristiano Ronaldo. They went and got Cristiano Ronaldo. And that's that. And I don't know how much Ollie's involvement was it. And if someone says, hey, do you want Cristiano Ronaldo? You go, I'll go on then. Matthew says, Steve, I can ask if there's a slight feeling that Marshall may possibly leave, given the obvious facts of recent signings that could play in his position. At the moment, I would say no. And he's not going anywhere until at least Christmas, is he? Burb says Anderlecht missed a sitter in the 94th minute in that Europa League semi while we tanked the lead. It was actually the quarters, because it was Celta Vigo in the semi, where I think we actually needed, wasn't it a last minute free kick from Marcus Rashford? Was it Marcus Rashford? I think I've got a feeling it was Marcus Rashford. Might not have been the last minute. It might have been the first leg as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the game was a lot. On the Ajax game, just pulled the stats up here. Ajax had 17 shots to our 7. They had 70% of possession. To say it wasn't a close game is just lies. You could argue it wasn't a close game, and you might even favour it to the opposition rather than to United. A little bit of waffle says, how do you lose a cup final 11-10 on penalties and get slated? I don't know how you've got the patience, Steve. Notch says, and they're ever so dependable by getting a red card versus Celta. That was in the semi. That was the second leg, I think. Chris says, sad thing is it was probably as high as Marshall's stock has been in a few years, and he's been injured for a month. I totally agree on that. I thought after the performance at Sevilla on loan, there's no chance back for him at all. But yet then he's come back and done that. Yeah, and people are massively forgetting. I remember Jose Mourinho twirling a scarf at the bottom of the Stretford end, almost crying, because we'd gambled so hard to be able to go to the Europa League semi, to get to the final. And we tanked the league. We came 6th, man. We phoned the league in to be able to concentrate on Europa. Sam says, do I think we're good enough with Marshall as our only striker? Is he United quality? He might get us through to Christmas, but we really need to sign someone in January, I think. Dr. Dryle says, why am I protecting Ollie? First Bay, now Marshall, I'm sure something happened. Well, the players that are coming out and complaining are not players that have been reliable. They're both players that have been injured. Like, if it had been a player that had actually put in some consistency and said, do you know what? I'm not happy with this. But there was a lot of players that weren't playing, but they weren't performing either. Proficiency Music says, I don't know who we'll get if we even do. Yeah, that's the one. JPF says, imagine Ivan Toney in January. That could be the move, you know. Raf says, tell Rio to bring Ollie on, vibe with 5, or get him on Paddock. I want him to rip this board. I doubt he would rip the board. There may have been something in his payoff as well which prevents him from doing that. That's often something that happens. I don't know if it is, but that'll be one. I mean, I can ask him. We talk about a lot of people that we're trying to bring on as guests, and there's a lot of really, really tasty guests being lined up. I think someone let it be known who is actually coming on this soon, but I don't know where. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about, without me mentioning it, can someone tell me where that was dropped, because I just saw a lot of tweets about it recently. But yeah, we're talking about all the different players. I mean, there's players in other countries that we'd like to go and visit. There's all that sort of stuff. But Ollie's name has not actually come up yet. That's an interesting one. Big Ting says, Tony is a Liverpool fan, but hey, money talks. Ollie was a Liverpool fan. Ollie said he would play the United way, but don't you think he tried? If you have to think about what we played football like in that run of 15 games, we played a midfield 3, where it was a proper 6-8-10 sort of combination. Matic, Herrera, Pogba, 6-8-10. We never really got the opportunity to play that because of injuries after that. And I think that had a massive part to play in it. And actually, people probably won't want to admit this as well, but for that run of Solskjaer's first opening games, Phil Jones was actually playing, and playing very well. Notch says, Jose played 10 at the back at Anfield and a horrendous team versus Sevilla, but they only blame Ollie for tactics. Ollie would go to the likes of Anfield and Etihad with an idea about playing on the counter to win those games. Jose went with the idea that he would 0-0 those games and come out with it, thinking it was a win. That was the difference for me. PSG would never have happened under Mourinho. We'd have gone and just gone out. He didn't have it in him anymore to be a manager that could play on the back foot and then try and snatch a win. We went for it in Paris. It was unbelievable. Why am I defending Ollie? Yeah, that's why. Brian says, for all the hate thrown his way, McTominay has been great the last few games. He has. And he'll deserve to start in our next match, which I'm assuming is Thursday now. Who do I think we should sign as a striker this January? Well, loads of the ones that we scouted have already been signed by people, so we will definitely be doing more looks at who we can sign when we get the opportunity. Don't worry about that. Anthony Jarvis says, Steve, stop being so reasonable. This is social media. People can't handle sensibility. They just want drama. This is true. Is it possible to ever get Fergie? I think Real mentioned that if we ever get to 1 million, if we ever get to 1 million, he would try and get Fergie as his million sort of celebration podcast, which I think is the correct time to do it. In all honesty, I think that's the move. I think we've gone up nearly 20,000 subs in the last month, so I reckon you're looking at maybe the end of the season to do that potentially. So hurry up and subscribe to Vibe with 5, and we'll get it before we need. And like, how long is enough with Fergie? Like, can we book out about 48 hours? It needs to be chapters. Chris says, would Fergie be the one to leave you speechless? Oh, 1,000%. Absolute 1,000%. Yeah. Have I ever talked to Fergie? No. I shook his hand at the cliff once after watching training. That's it. I don't know what I would say to Fergie. If he texts me today and goes, we've got Fergie on a podcast Monday, I'm like, shit, do I have to wear a suit? I'm going to wear a suit. Like, what the fuck, man? It's Fergie, innit? Where do you even begin? I'm, for banter, going to start talking to him about the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup, just because no one else will. And I reckon, like, if you want to ask him about 2008, which we're definitely going to have to, because if Rio's there, we're talking about his greatest night, the night Rio was captain of Manchester United and we went on and won a European Cup. We've fucking got to talk about that, right? And that would be correct and right. But just for all of the fucking Paddock fans out there, I've got to ask him about 1991, right? Think about it, right? Fergie must be probably pretty bored of the same old questions. So, I think you talk to him about the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup, Wrexham, Legia Warsaw, Montpellier. And I reckon you get a bit of fire out of him because he's like, no one's fucking asked me about this since Jay at that premiere. So I think you ask Fergie about something he's not fucking expecting. Or you say to him like, you rank the United sides. For me, I think my favourite team was the 99 treble team. Favourite, right? But I think the best team was the 2008 team. I think that was a better team than the 1999 team. Despite the fact he didn't have Roy Keane, which should be the go-to for anything. I think the 08 team was just better. I think if they played them, the day after them games, you play each other, I think the 08 team beats it. But then the third team is the 93-94 double team. Because that was a fucking hard team. And it played one-touch football. And it dominated the ball. And it had third-man runs. And it pressed. And it played on the halfway line. And it does everything that people associate with modern football. And it was doing it in 1994. And I don't think people would fully understand how good that team was. Would we get Keane on? Keane, Gary Neville, Carragher. There's a Sky BT problem. All Things Gas says the depth of the 99 team was amazing. Correct. Chris B says 2008 to this day, the Portsmouth Cup game roused me. Do you know what I mean? Should have been talking about another fucking treble there. Another unprecedented treble, by the way. Raf says, Steve, I missed the 99 era. How good was Teddy Sheringham? Seems underrated. Teddy Sheringham was very good. Cole and York created this amazing partnership, but the backups in Solskjaer being like the most goal scoring substitute in Premier League history. He's still got an amazing strike rate per minute, one of the top in the Premier League era. And Teddy Sheringham offering just something completely different. Teddy would peel off playing between the lines. Not quick, obviously, But probably in the United side now, probably doing a lot of what you see Christian Eriksen doing. That sort of stuff. Has Rio tried for Cantona, says Anthony Jarvis. Not that I know of. I don't know if he has, you know. Sam says Evra would be great on Vibe 5. I don't think he'd hold back much. I know that they're talking about coming on. I think it's just organising when he's coming on, in all honesty. Same with Vidic. Vidic is, I think he's back in Serbia. I can't remember what he said he's doing now. I don't think he's running for politics, or is he coaching? But yeah, he's back in Serbia, so I'm hoping. When it's Rio and Vidic, right, I'm going to tape Joel's mouth shut. I'm not going to fucking speak. I'm just going to sit there and watch them two, because I think that they're massive fans of each other. And I think that them two together could be brilliant. I think they would be brilliant. Thierry Henry said Keane was a baller. People think Roy Keane was a thug, right? Roy Keane could play football. He chose to do it in a simple way. Joel's like Paul Pogba sometimes would need to beat a man and put in a 60-yard ball. Roy Keane would just play the simple ball. Anthony Jarvis, the most fun thing I can think of is an audience with Souness and Steve. Oh, he's not a fucking prayer. He would come and do that, is there? Speaking facts says Ferguson is the past and we need to stop talking about him because he's now a poison for the club with the idea of average players like Ronaldo and McTominay still at this club. With all due respect, mate, go and fuck yourself, right? What are you talking about? Sir Alex Ferguson is the past. Sir Alex Ferguson built this fucking house that we live in, right? It's all about shut your fucking gob. Sir Alex Ferguson, if he wanted to, could fucking torch the place and we just have to say, well, that's what he wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? He's allowed. When you deliver the amount of fucking titles that Sir Alex Ferguson's delivered, then you can start fucking talking and running your mouth. What the fuck are you talking about? Jesus Christ. Average players like Ronaldo, average player. Might not suit this system. Let's not call Ronaldo average. That's the worst fucking line I've ever heard, by the way. Oh my God. Literally the worst comment I've ever read on YouTube. And do you know what? McTominay, I did a video the other day, McTominay's benching Casemiro, right? Did anyone expect that? Because I did not expect that. I couldn't wait to get McTominay out of that starting 11. I don't remember how many times I've said, if that guy ends up as a squad player for United, I can't wait. You know what I'm saying? Big Wang says, Fergie's best achievement was winning the Premier League with that squad in his final season. Lee says, I'd ask Fergie why he didn't sign Henrik Larsson sooner. There's a few things I'd love to speak to about Fergie. I want to know about the transfers that didn't happen, that the press never got wind of. That I want to see behind the curtain. I want to know about the mistakes that he made when he went too hard with a certain player with discipline. Because I know he's come out and regretted. There's that famous that they've won the Scottish Cup final, and he's like, "It's a fucking disgrace of a performance. We shouldn't be celebrating. That was rubbish. We've got higher standards than that." And I know he come out later and said he regrets that. But I reckon he's probably got a few more of that because he was fiery, wasn't he? So he's definitely gone overboard a few times, and I'd love to know about those. If you get Fergie on, and obviously it's no given that we need an extra 100 and whatever thousand subs to do it, and he has to be available, and we have to be able to get him in to do it. But I think if you can get Fergie on, I think you got to ask him something new. You can't be like, oh, how good was Cristiano Ronaldo? Be like, yeah, he won the Ballon d'Or, you dick. It was pretty good. Like, what's your favourite game? Not this. The super chat from Pratik says, do I think the postponed matches are a blessing in disguise for Ten Hag in terms of getting players more drilled? Maybe, but then we've also got to throw it away. Georgie says Fergie was 2 minutes away, less than that, from winning the league with the likes of Cleverley, Anderson and Welbeck and Jones. True story. I Am King says Fergie interview on 5 with 5. It's not bugs, it's something that we want to do, rather than something that we've got sorted. It's obviously something that we want to do. So we're just talking about who we would, what questions we would ask if we could. Righty, on that one, I am going to wrap it up. But cheers, everyone, for coming and hanging out tonight. Hope you have a good Saturday. What you're doing. Gary Kavanagh says, explain 1991, please. Just Google it. It's the greatest achievement in football. Right, take it easy. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. And be a Lone Watch video dropping tomorrow. And I might do a late night live tomorrow. If you want to come and hang out, since there's going to be no football. See you in a bit.